Hi everyone, welcome to the Practice and Master Excel YouTube channel. So in today's video, you learn how to easily and dynamically convert columns into rows. So we have this data of the expense type, which are rent, groceries, transport, and the like. Then we have the months from January to May. Then we have the expense amounts. Now what we want to see three columns. We want to see the expense type as one column. We want to see the month as another column, and then want to see the expense amount as a third column. So I'm going to be showing you how to do this in Power Query using the unpivot function. So let's get started. Firstly, we would convert our data into a table. So click anywhere on the data, click on Insert, click on Table, and click OK. So we can rename our table, let's call it expenses. Yeah. So next thing, click anywhere on the table, click on data, click on from table/range. So this will take us into the Power Query editor and it will also load our data in there as well. Okay. Okay, so now we have our data. So for what we want the expense type to remain as is in this column. Now we want the month data, which is January all the way down to May. We want the month data itself to have its own column. And now we want the expenses, the expense amounts, which are the numbers, to have their own column. So at the end of the day, we're going to have three columns: the expense type, the month, and the expense amount. Right, so there are two ways to do this. The first step is to select all the columns that we want to convert into rows. So in this case, these are the months. Then go to the Transform tab, click on Unpivot Columns and click on Pivot Columns. Another way to do this is to select the column that we do not want to um, that we don't want to unpivot. So which is the column that we want to remain the same. And in this case is the expense type, or columns if there are more than one that you want to remain the same. So select the expense type, click on the unpivot columns, and then click on unpivot other columns. So now this would unpivot the other columns except for the one that is selected. Perfect. So now we have the expense type, and then we have the attributes, which is actually the month, and then we have the value, which is the expense amount. Okay, so we have what we need, our three columns. So we can rename the attribute to the month. Let me call this expense month. And then we can rename the value to expense amount. Press enter. So now that we're satisfied with our data, go to the Home tab, click on Close and Load, then click on Close and Load to. So we can either load this data into a table, a pivot chart, or only just create the connection. So let's load it to a table, click New Worksheet or the existing worksheet, whichever one, and then click OK. So it's going to load the data into the table. Now, if we don't want to load it into a table and we want to load it into, let's say, a pivot chart so that we can do some data visualization and draw some charts and graph. So you come back here, don't click on it, just put the cursor on it. It'll bring out this, then click the three dots, click Load to, and then click Pivot Chart. And then click OK. It will delete the table, which is what the message is, and then bring in the pivot chart. So in this case, now we have the pivot chart environment. So here we have the filters, legend, axis, values, kind of similar to the pivot table. Anyway, so we can add the expense amount into the values field. And then we can also add the expense month into the axis so that it will plot the month against the amount. So looking at this data, we can say that May had the highest expenses, right? We could also add the expense type into the legend. This way we can see the plot of all the different expense types. You can click on this chart styles and change the style of the chart. Could also click on the design tab, change the colors, and click this. So there's a lot you could do with this. Another thing is that this long bar is the rent. So we can remove the rent column since it's the same amount all through. So if you want to look at other expense, you can click on that arrow and filter out the rent. So now we can see other expenses. So this really high one is shopping in April. And then there's also another high expense in which is groceries in May. Please like, share, and subscribe if this video was helpful for you. So in the next video, I'm going to be showing you how you can convert these columns into rows. So we're going to be going from this data to this data. Okay, so let me explain data a bit. So we have months in the first row. Then we have the weeks for 4 weeks for each month in the second row. Then we have the expense types, and then we have the expense amount. So if you look at it as one, this is January, week 1 to week 4, and then the different expense amount. So we have this for February and all the way down, I think up until May. Yeah. So we're going to convert this into a 4-column data with just the month, the week, the expense type, and the expense amount. So when this video is out, I would link it to the description of this particular video. So thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.